Hey guys, I know a lot of you watch my channel because you've got the itch and you're looking to make your next knife purchase, which I totally get because I'm also a knife guy. So I invite you to open the description of the video you're watching right now and click here on my Amazon store where I've compiled some of my very favorites. As you can see, my most recommended knives and my favorite budget knives are right at the top, but there's also categories like knife maintenance, pocket clips, knife storage and display, and then a whole bunch of knives by popular brands. There's something down here for everybody, so make sure you take a look. Thanks. What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is an OTF. It's actually the No Limit Knives Sapo. I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. Here, I'm going to show you guys. This came from the Apex Pass-Around group, but by extension the manufacturer, and actually directly from this person here. So you guys can check them out if you'd like to. These are also available on Grindworks. I will provide a link if I am able to. Yeah, anyways, very interesting. So these are made in China, and guys, I know that there are a lot, just like any other knife category, there are budget OTFs, there's mid-range OTFs, there's super high-end US-made OTFs. Here's the problem. A whole bunch of this stuff are direct copies or clones of Microtech knives. That's why I don't review a lot of that stuff. Because a lot of them just took the design from Microtech. They're not copying anybody. They're doing their own thing here. Now, there are some parts of this knife, maybe the glass breaker, that kind of bear a passing resemblance, but a lot of this knife is 100% its own design, which is why I don't have a problem taking a look at it. So, you know, it seems like whenever I do an OTF review, people are like, you can get this one and it's so much better and it's only for this much. 9 times out of 10, it's like an obvious Microtech copy. So I just don't mess with it. But no, these guys, I've reviewed one of their knives before, and I appreciate the fact that number one, they're definitely made well, and number two, they're not copying anybody. So that's great. If you guys are enjoying my content, my daily knife content, and you'd like to support me, there is a link to my Patreon down in the description. You can get your hands on some cool stickers and, of course, gain access to my once-a-week Patreon exclusive content. The support would mean the world to me. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement here. So overall length is it's coming in at 7.5 inches. You could call it 7.9 if you want to include the glass breaker, but I don't hold on to the glass breaker. In fact, I'd rather it just wasn't there. So we're going to call it 7.5. Blade length's coming in at about 3.25. Cutting edge is coming in at 3 inches on the dot. It's important to point out that, number one, this knife is an automatic knife, so it's not going to be illegal in a lot of places, period. There are still places where it's illegal to own an automatic knife. There are other places where it's not legal to own it, you just can't carry it, right? And then I would imagine there's some places where the first two things are okay, but you can't carry a knife you can't carry a blade that's over 3 inches or 2 inches, so for a lot of different reasons, this knife may or may not be legal where you live. I live in Kansas, and nobody seems to care here, so we can carry whatever we want. That's how it should be, in my opinion. Anyways, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1's coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco, Spyderco PM2. Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. This is probably a good time to point out that this has a very interesting shade of green on the aluminum. That's part of what makes these kind of interesting, is they offer colors on the aluminum. I'm not 100% sure that that's hard coat anodizing, but it might be. Colors that are interesting. It looks very similar to like a jade on this Spyderco PM2, which I actually find appealing. A lot of people don't. I can understand why, but it's kind of neat to see some different colors. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. I keep wanting to put it back by the glass breaker. And last but not least, Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. I suppose I do have two other OTFs. I don't know if I'd call them common, but I might as well show them to you guys. This is not quite as long as an in fact, it's quite a ways from an Ultratech. It's about an inch shorter than a Microtech Ultratech, but it's about half an inch longer than the UTX 85. Here it is up against a Benchmade Infidel and up against a Microtech Combat Troodon. Two much more expensive US autos, but admittedly, in terms of the feeling of the firing, the quality in the firing, the no limit feels pretty good. I gotta admit, it actually feels a little better than the Benchmade, and the Benchmade's quite a bit more expensive. Let me put these away here real quick. Okay, so how's the action on this guy? Let's go ahead and talk about that. The action's great. And honestly, the amount of wiggle in the blade, there's gonna be wiggle in the blade. There's a couple of brands of OTFs out there. A lot of people will go, my $100 OTF doesn't wiggle, my $50 OTF doesn't wiggle. Yeah, it does. If they say that, they're pulling your leg. The Harkins Deadlock, or wait, is it the? Oh wait, it's the Hawk, the G&G Deadlock, that really expensive custom OTF. That one doesn't wiggle at all. And there might be another one out there that's really expensive. But all the other ones, it's like there's a lot of wiggle, and you get that on all the budget ones. And then there's like Microtechs that don't wiggle very much. And that's kind of where I gauge it, you know. And also like Guardian Tacticals, those are made really, really well. This is on par with that, both in terms of the feeling of the action, the snappiness, the solidity that I feel. There's no play in the switch. Nothing feels sloppy. This is very solid. It's very quality action. And the wiggle here, it's very comparable to what I feel on a Microtech Ultratech, right? Which is totally acceptable. So I'm very happy with that. On top of that, can we talk about the placement of the switch? Thank you. This is the right placement of the switch. I mean, it's fine over here, but this just is a lot more natural. This position right here where it's on the flat, think about how you pull it out of your pocket, right? Pull it out like this, your thumb is already there, right? I'm not talking about a self-defense situation. I'm talking about needing an OTF. Like I always use this example. If I'm up on a ladder and I got one hand busy and I get into a bind or a predicament and I can't free up my left hand until I cut whatever thing is keeping the thing that I'm holding up from being able to move, well, in that situation, an OTF is fantastic if I can get it out and deploy it quickly, make the cut, put it away, right? So yeah, I really appreciate the fact that that switch is right there. Part of the reason why I want to get my hands on a Microtech die rack so much is because I feel like it would be kind of, you know, it would be like what I love so much about the Combat Troodon and the Ultratech, except for the switch is in the right place. But on this knife, they've done that, and I hope we see that on more OTFs. But anyways, yeah, I really, really appreciate that. Let's go ahead and talk about carry profile. Up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3 PM2, you'll see that it is just all the way around. It's it's just not a cumbersome object. In terms of thickness, it's almost exactly the same thickness as the Para 3. Maybe just a hair thicker, but really not. I mean, it's just like a thin rectangle, right? If you want to see thickness on, let's go, I'll give you a measurement of thickness on the frame just so you guys know. Maximum width here on the frame coming in at, there you go, just under 1/2 inch. And then your blade stock thickness is coming in at under 110 thousandths. Let's do that one more time just because I might have been squeezed. There's a notch there. I don't want to get the notch. Yeah, something like that. So not a thin, not a thick blade, not a cumbersome profile, anything like that. It absolutely is aluminum. And then the blade steel's 154 cm, which we're going to talk about here in a sec. Let me get my scale working right. There we go. Totally understandable, 3.14 ounces. I have no problem with that. It's just straight up. It's just not a cumbersome object. So no issues there. All right, we covered all of this. Was there anything we didn't cover? No, we went through action, we went through carry profile, all that stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy here. So we are looking at aluminum. I'm going to guess this is a steel switch. It's interesting that you can actually remove the switch by turning the screws right there. You know what we didn't do? We didn't do a hardware check. So let's go ahead and do that since we're already talking about the hardware. Get out my handy dandy WIA bit selector and WIA magnetic driver. Two items that are extremely inexpensive and extremely recommendable. You can find them down in the Amazon store that I always talk about at the beginning of the video. Just pull up the store, look for knife maintenance, and you should be able to find these guys pretty easily. It looks like the handle screws are all T6. Let me point out that I immediately am happy about the fact that I can even get into this. There are a lot of OTFs out there in all price ranges that seem to have proprietary hardware, so that's always nice. Yeah, those are T6. What's the button here? The button is actually bigger. There's no pivot. It's almost like what would be the pivot screw. I'm guessing that's a T8. Let's try. Yep, that's a T8. So we've got 6 screws and you're into it. Oh, that's, you know, I'm almost tempted to give it a pass. I mean, if they were all T8, I'd be super happy. Not that I recommend you get into your OTF, because it's much easier to mess up an OTF. I mean, yeah, most people could probably figure it out practicing, you know, messing around with it, but I'm going to say for the most part, if you're new to OTFs, don't take them apart. I'm glad that you can get in here, right? In case you get something lodged in there and you need to get into it. It's nice that that they allow you to get into it, but I wouldn't. Also, what's probably going to be involved with taking it apart is taking probably a rod and sticking it through here and then turning. I mean, that used to be how to get inside Microtech knives from the back end. I mean, if you got around the proprietary stuff, but that's probably involved with it too. But yeah, that's nice that they have that, but probably don't get into it. But minimal parts, you know, so that's nice. The blade steel, what we're looking at here is 154 cm. So normally, this is what I've been saying in a lot of reviews. Normally I'm like, 154 cm is good, I love it, but why not CPM 154? I mean, at this price, couldn't I just... So I had a really interesting conversation with a rep from ProTech Knives about 154 cm and CPM 154. Now I'm going to talk about this again the next time I talk about a ProTech, but I have ProTechs that use, or I'm in possession of a ProTech that uses CPM 154, and I'm also in possession of a newer ProTech that uses 154 cm, even though it's not printed on the blade. And I was like, ProTech, why not just use CPM 154? You've used it before. So it turns out, the CPM process, of course, makes the powder form, it's powder forming, right? So even particle distribution across the board. But there's a benefit in, like, if the steel is very carbide heavy, having them all distributed evenly, there's a benefit there in cutting performance. 154 cm is already a super clean alloy, but it doesn't gain the same type of benefit in even carbide distribution from the CPM process, which means, and some people might get upset with me for saying this, there's roughly a 5% increase in toughness from the CPM process and basically nothing else. The CPM version of 154 cm is essentially an unnecessary version of it. 154 cm is fully capable and arguably identical in performance to CPM 154. A lot of people will say, no, it's just the composition that's the same. Actually, seriously, in the case of 154 cm, according to the rep from ProTech Knives, they are virtually identical in performance. Having learned that, number one, I can completely understand why they don't really care to switch all their knives over to CPM 154 from 154 cm, which seems to be their favorite steel to use. You know, I guess I don't really care if it's CPM 154 anymore, and 154 cm is basically on par with it now. If you've watched my video about my favorite steels, I have a lot of experience sharpening 154 cm and using 154 cm, and I love it. And same thing with CPM. I just always assumed, well, the CPM is probably just a little bit better in terms of, you know, everything, toughness, edge performance, well, edge retention, stuff like that. But no. So in this case, 154 cm, it's one of those steels that's perfectly acceptable on knives like that are not super expensive, and also knives that are super expensive, because it apparently doesn't cost a whole lot to put on a knife, but it's a super performance-oriented steel, a very well-rounded steel that can tackle a lot of different things. Does it have edge retention like M390? No, but it's definitely tougher, right? It's also way easier to sharpen. It's also something that's not going to add an enormous amount of cost to your knife, right? So there are a lot of benefits. You know, a lot of people are like, if it doesn't have good edge retention, or if it doesn't have as good of edge retention as M390 or M4, then it's not good. Actually, you know, it's a multi-directional teeter-totter with steel, right? So where you get a lot of one thing, you might lose a lot of something else, if that makes sense. All right, that's enough of that because we're 14 minutes in. Let's take a look at this blade here. I like the blade shape a lot more than the Mungos, I think was the last one I looked at. I'm not sure about these holes here. I don't know if they are places where you can put tritium inserts or if they're just decorational. in any case, I don't really like the fact that stuff might get caught up in there. It's not that big of a deal. I'll tell you what is a big deal to me. The most basic font in the world was chosen to display their brand. And it also follows an awkward curvature here. So it's like, you know, they designed all this and took a lot of care in it, and then they were like, no limit knives. Like, it's weird. It's out of place. And same thing, I mean, the 154 CM on the back's not that bad. But that's just, it's weird. And it's also on the pocket clip. Come on. Let's just remove it. Change the font or remove it. Better yet, remove it completely. It looks weird and I don't like it. Other than that, I think the blade is fine. Little bit of sharpness here. You can see it's actually taking some of my fingernails off. Not that big of a deal. This area back here, I wouldn't call it jimping. It kind of grabs your finger. It's not really. You're probably not going to have your hands up on the blade while you're using it, but you might. And for those of you who are bothered by this, you won't like that so much. Not really that big of a deal. The blade, however, is ground pretty well. It doesn't get incredibly thin behind the edge, but thin enough for your general EDC tasks. I don't have a problem with it. No rubbing. It doesn't appear to rub at all. It appears to be very snug inside of this area here. Looks like there's a little bit of a steel plate there. I don't know if that's for stabilization, you know, if you end up having to use this knife in a non-knife scenario, but that's interesting. That's about it for the blade. I mean, it basically is a standard drop point blade that's going to do its job. It's plenty utilitarian, and I don't have a problem with it. I really like the lines on the handle a lot. I think this looks nice, straightforward. It doesn't really offer anything in the way of meaningful traction, but the lines are there and I can feel them and it looks nice. And more importantly, all of the lines meet up perfectly. Something that I find all too often on budget OTFs, and I understand that this is in the eye of the beholder. For example, if all you've ever experienced are budget OTFs, you're going to look at them and go, these are pretty well made. But if you handle one that's more expensive and you can compare and contrast, most of the time people can see you generally get what, you know, your money's worth. So for example, like the Lightning OTF is a fantastic budget OTF. Is it made with the same level of, you know, tolerances as something like this? No, not even close. I mean, it's fine in terms of utility, but I mean, a lot more care went into this. Absolutely. This is on par in terms of fit and finish with what I'd expect from Microtech knives. Kind of ugly under there where it's been rubbing, but that's just going to be the case with everything except for the Guardian Tactical Recon right now, which has that steel plate and it keeps a lot of that ugliness. That has ceramic ball bearings underneath the switch riding on the steel surface, so you're not going to see that. The rest of these designs are all a steel or aluminum switch running directly on anodized aluminum. That being said, there's a fair amount of pressure you have to apply to this, but it's still really smooth. I mean, it's really, really comfortable. I honestly think I could do that all day. And also, it doesn't seem to be, yeah, it doesn't appear to fail. I mean, that comes out of there with a lot of force, truthfully. I mean, that is a quality feeling OTF spring in there. Really, really nice. I have no issues with that whatsoever. Glass breaker is a glass breaker. I really wouldn't care if it was there or not. It looks kind of like the old Microtech glass breakers. Whatever. The problem with it is it causes an excess to stick up out of your pocket. If it wasn't there, it would just be this that you're seeing. But it is there, so you get to see this big, weird rhinoceros horn sticking up out of your pocket. That's fine. You might need to break glass. I don't break a lot of glass, so I don't really care that it's there. Pocket clip is just fine. It also imitates kind of what we'd expect to see on Microtech knives, but it's also like what we see on a bajillion different style of knives. So again, I don't think it's enough to really say that they're copying anybody. I prefer more of a swoop. This is more of a sort of a point, right? I prefer more of this. It might get caught on something. It's got plenty of retention. It seems to be a well-made clip. It's going to do the job, right? And the surface of the aluminum is smooth enough. It should go in and out of your pocket okay. What I don't like is the font. The font is stupid. I'm sorry, but that font is just ridiculous, right? Anyway, not that big of a deal. So again, to go over the things that kind of bothered me, the font, definitely. Did I mention I hate the font? Geez, what is the deal with the font? Don't like it. The holes up here are... I don't know exactly if they're for tritium inserts or for looks or what. I'd rather they weren't there. Little sharp, kind of wanting to shave my fingernails off. It's got T6 hardware, but I still appreciate the fact that I can get into it, and I wouldn't like there to be a glass breaker. Functionally, though, we are looking at a very well-made OTF, a lightweight OTF, a compact OTF. It feels good when it fires, right? It feels reliable. 154 cm, no arguments there. Great steel, especially having learned that the powder version of it is not hardly different at all in terms of performance. So price on this guy. So on Grindworks right now, as of the date of this video, I can find these for about $199. I don't think that's a terrible price, but I'll tell you, it would have considering these are made in China, right? I mean, you can get a arguably the best EDC OTFs on the planet right now, in my opinion, are the UTX-85 from Microtech, the Ultratech from Microtech, and the Guardian Tactical Recon 35. You essentially have a small, medium, and large situation going on there, and all of them are perfectly designed. And those knives come in at between $240 and $280. That means that with this being priced at $200, you can go up a minimum of $40 and get, I mean, in my opinion, an absolutely flawless design. Yeah, Microtechs have proprietary hardware, but made in the United States. In some situations, I mean, with Microtech, they've moved to 204p/M390, so if you really want those super edge retentive blades, which honestly might be, the steel might better be accentuated on something like this that's not necessarily made for hard use. So perhaps some of the toughness qualities of 154 cm are wasted on this OTF. I don't know. You know what I mean? You go up 40, 45 bucks and you can have something, you don't have to deal with a weird font or any weird edges not being knocked down all the way. And it's made in the USA. If this knife was $175, I'd have been like, wow, that's awesome. You know, I think if you really like this color, this look, and you know, the major benefit is right now, unless you want to go with a die rack, which is really hard to find and definitely more expensive, right? Those run like 300 at least, something around there. The switch being right here, I mean, if you just really like that and you're like, all I have is 200 bucks and I like the look of that, well, then you're really going to like this, right? I think that's great. I think it would have been, you know, get rid of the weird font and get rid of these holes up here, and boy, I would have been a lot more, I mean, still, the price would have been like, eh, but man, talk about like a much more compelling aesthetic design versus some of the really good looking versions that I mentioned. That would have been, I might have done it a little better for me. It's okay. It's definitely in an area where it's going to convince a lot of people. And I'll tell you this, for those of you who do decide to spend the money on it, I think you're going to be happy. But it's just, it's too close to a point where I would tell most people, I would say, just bump up and get the Microtech or the Guardian Tactical. Like I've handled so many OTFs. I'm picky about them. These are good. They are undoubtedly better than the knockoff stuff that you're getting. I'm not going to mention any brands, but take a look at the steel. If you're looking at an OTF they're charging you between $100 and $300 for, or anything over $100, and it says 440C, you are getting taken advantage of. Those companies are taking advantage of you. I've been dancing around that for a long time. I say it in a lot of OTF reviews. Don't buy OTFs with 440C steels that look like Microtech. They are 100% taking advantage of people. Don't do that. Those are not quality knives. And they're just ripping people's faces off. But this is not that. This is a good OTF. I think it's made well. I appreciate the materials. It's just a little bit too close to ones that I consider to be better all the way around. But anyways, still cool, and I'm sure that people who do pick this up will be happy with it. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's review. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.